Shalom Akim, Kahalayim Na Yahaba Shem Yashaba Shem Hakudash, and double honors to the and apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. And Yaratazar that you find this video edifying and also exhorting too. Edifying meaning to build up, and exhorting meaning encouraging as well. This is just a revisiting of the hot topic during the 2020, 2021, 2022. When the V shots came out as a response to the fear mongering or the inducing of fear to the public, with the news, of course, being the main source of that. And of course, you should know what I'm talking about by now. You know, people coughing and then being fearful because they heard a cough. So the point is, here, as I named the video, let me read it out here, because I put it on my notes. It says awareness of the Juice V effects is still increasing. So the awareness is increasing for the Juice effects. Of course, that's a code name for what they use, to put in people as really for the ignorant ones who did take it, as a response. But that's gonna worsen your state of body, especially when it comes to immunity, than if you didn't take it, man. So anyway, so those who were ignorant, they're suffering the effects. Really, from this thumbnail, anyways, you can tell what's what's going on here, man. Hence the so-called, heart attacks that have been happening. But anyways, EO Nutrition, name of the YouTuber here. I saw this on the recommended, so I decided, okay, let me check this out. 6th January, a few days ago, when it was uploaded. It says amyloid clots found in every single person, brand new study. Of course, it's not everyone, but it's those who took the juice. And I believe he censored it here, so Yaratazar, they don't take down my video for it. So let's get this started. I'll play a few minutes because that's really the key part. The rest of it, goes into the details.
This is a clot pulled straight from someone's veins. This isn't normal blood. This is called amyloid. This is a clot pulled straight from someone's veins. This isn't normal blood. This is called amyloid. Since 2022, embalmers worldwide have found these in thousands of bodies. And a brand new study just proved the same amyloid clots are forming inside living people right now. Indeed, they found them in every single participant who received a shot. In this video, we'll look at what they are, why they're happening, and what you can potentially do about it. Now, these are microscopic, so they remain hidden and hard to identify, but they probably can account for most of the symptoms that we see so commonly now. This means that
it's really just for, understanding as well. You can see a clot as just a bundle of blood cells, which hinders blood flow. Just for, simplicity of understanding.
Fatigue, the brain fog, the nervous system problems, and even the sudden cardiac events. This new study compared the blood from 50 patients with long COVID diagnosed and 38 healthy controls. It found that these clots, called amyloid microclots, they were dramatically higher in people with long COVID. This was up to 20 times greater in number and a much larger size as well. However, they also found these microclots in practically every other participant. So this means even the healthy control group. Unsurprisingly, every single one of these healthy controls had also received the shot. And so why is this even important? Your body forms blood clots. Normally, importantly, these clots can be broken down through the body's natural process of fibrinolysis. This is where the body dissolves those clots using enzyme systems in the blood, which essentially come along, they break down, dissolve the clot, and then your immune system cleans up the mess. This is happening on a regular basis and you don't even know about it. However, in people with long COVID or those who took a certain medical procedure, well, the clot that forms is completely different. This clot aggregates with a bunch of other proteins and inflammatory chemicals and forms an amyloid clot. And like I said, these can be very small in size and quite hard to detect. And because of their unique structure, they are highly resistant to this process of fibrinolysis, which basically means that your body cannot break them down. In other words, they might remain there permanently. So
you can see, man, East was doing a very diligent search with his chemistry, to make the substances that's contained within those within the V in order to cause people to have these heart attacks, man. You know, so let me get a precept on that. This is Psalm 64 and verse 4. It says that, you know what, let me read from verse 1. Psalm 64 and verse 1. Hear my voice, O power. In my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Now, this is a prayer from David. It says verse 2. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And of course, a good form of that is this media that he uses in order to influence the minds of the ignorant or the weak, man. Which really, anyone who don't have the defense of these scriptures, you know, they can be likened as, you know, susceptible to Esau's influence. But to be fair, nowadays people are doing their own research. They have their critical thinking caps on, and then they're getting to the note. The Most High's opening their eyes to the bullshit that Esau is putting out there. Even the lower, the most common, the typical layman, you know, which is just your average individual out here, you know, their brains are turning up as well, you know. So Esau's not going to be able to use his cunning crafts to influence the mass population anymore, man. He's just going to go out with it, you know, just like Trump, you know, just saying, all right, we're just going to take the Venezuelan president. So the horns are really being revealed, man. The horns are being revealed. But let me stay on topic. You know, another really inspiration for this video was the fact that, you know, people have been talking about a new super flu, man, a hybrid flu, like a hybrid between the, you know, COVID and the flu. You know, that's why they said during the so-called Christmas season, you know, latter parts of December, that people were feeling the symptoms, man. You know, headaches, you know, throat pains as well, body aches, you know, all of the symptoms of flu, they had it, man. You know, so there's something going on. And the thing is, even in 2000, because really the news came out in 2019, the latter parts, you know, November, December, you know, but the real fear or the real the attention got to it, you know, 2020, you know, and then I believe throughout 2020, 2021, countries started to lock down and, you know, restrictions for flights, you know, that happened. So just see this could be the part 2 that we're about to face, man. So, you know, heads up to that. And really, you know, for Akim who are into the, you know, conspiracies, you know, watch those type of guys on other platforms or even on YouTube sometimes, you know, like BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble. You know, the news of a new V, via, and then us. I'm trying to use you know, words here. Via and then us. You know, think about that one. You know, with a new V coming out, I think there was news around April, man. I remember watching a video from, you know, one of these you know, conspiracy channels. You know, they're like, you know, another type of V. They're saying another V may be coming out. You know, I remember they had those what did they have? They had these it's like practicals, not practicals. You know, when they practice for an event before it actually happens. You know, they had one of those before, even I believe a few years before you know, the CV actually happened, you know, in 2019. So just open your eyes. Could be facing a part 2 this year. Don't be surprised if it does happen. So Psalm 64, I'll start from verse 4. So that they may shoot in secret at the perfect, you know, read the saints, the Israelites, really the men of Yahweh Bashim Yashai preaching this truth. It says, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. You see, the CV, that's the evil matter. They're like, okay, we're going to do it this way. This is going to be phase 1. This is going to be phase 2. This is how the people are going to react. You know, as the formula goes, problem, create the problem, see the reaction, and then give them the false solution. That's the truth. So it says in verse 5, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily, you know, in secret. Snares is a trap. They say, who shall see them? And it's true. If you ain't, you know, wide eyed and say, and you know, observing these things, you realize, wait, hold on. Things aren't adding up here. You know, so, and really, you know, as the scriptures goes, you know, in the Apocrypha, I believe in Ecclesiasticus, either 32 or 38. You know, Yaratas are even getting, the Most High's created medicines out of the earth. Alright, so this is Ecclesiasticus 38 and verse 4. The Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua hath created medicines out of the earth. He that is wise will not abhor them. So, of course, you know, now's the time when, you know, of course, as Apostle Torah has been pushing as well, you know, getting into tinctures as well. Or even then, there's still other practices too, you know, fasting, you know, clean up your body, increase your immune system. You know, there's many ways, even things like, you know, cold showers as well, the shock, it then aids you in, you know, it really helps in producing more immune cells. That's the thing. You know, so there's many ways, you know, fasting, you know, get into your tinctures for health. Obviously, get into your fruits as well. Pretty much just getting into the things which are building your immune system. You know, exercise too. Of course, new blood cells being formed. You know, there's several things, man. So, you know, but really the focus on this precept here is, you know, getting into the herbs, you know, and the foods of the earth, or which will be able to aid, you know, in building your immune system. Which, of course, I ain't going to get technical because we all know that the potency of the food we eat right now is not as strong as it was in the ancient days. You know, when Jake actually had their own land and could actually let the land rest, you know, give it a land Sabbath. But point is, you know, use what you can, man. That's the point. Don't just be a doom and gloom type of guy, man. You know, pray over your food. You know, we eat in faith, man. That's really it. We eat in faith. You know, through Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So anyways, let me get back to the video and you know, probably get a few presets and close out, because the point is there, man. It's the juice that's causing the clots, the blood clots.
That your body cannot break them down. In other words, because of their unique structure, they are highly resistant to this process, forms an amyloid clot. And like I said, these can be very small in size and quite hard to detect. And because of their unique structure, they are highly resistant to this process of fibrinolysis, which basically means that your body cannot break them down. In other words, they might remain there permanently. So millions of these tiny microclots clogging up the blood.
So just imagine as well. They say, okay, you gotta go for round 1, take the juice. Round 2, you gotta take the juice again. Round 3, they're making it like a season. I remember they were making it as a seasonal thing, man. Especially over here in the UK. You know, considering you know, NHS messages, National Health Service over here. Of course, they were saying, all right, you gotta take your next one, alerting you. You know, making which that in itself is a fear tactic as well, because, you know, when you look at the environment of the situation, people, of course, workplace or wherever, they'll be claiming, yeah, they've taken it, you know, talking all this shit. They speak as though what they've done is an honor, but there's nothing honorable about taking that, because it's the death. It's really gotta be careful with my words here. But it's the cause of death, man. It's the cause of death. That's really what that's what's in those I'm just call it V juice vials. You know, so anyways, that's the point right there, man. So really there's nothing honorable. And then that in itself would then make people peer pressure, because, you know, it's like, oh, you just want to follow the crowd, you know, sheep mentality. And that's really how most individuals are, you know, being followers, not being able to stand for their own with their own 2 feet, man. You know, stand on your morals, which we stand on the scriptures. That's the thing, which is how we reason. Anyways, man, let's play some more of this and then get a few precepts. Actually, before that, let me get this and then continue the video again. So this is you know, when Jacob and Esau were born, Isaac and Rebecca. But the point is on Esau's nature here. So Genesis 25 and verse 27, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. So remember, he's a cunning hunter, man. In fact, let's read in the NLT. Genesis 25 and 27 on the right, which is the NLT, as the New Living Translation. As the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoors man, but Jacob had a quiet temperament, preferring to stay at home. Hence why, he was, quite close to, his mother. Of course, Isaac also liking Esau as well, considering. But yeah, so he was a skillful hunter, and of course, a skillful hunter, he knows how to lay down traps, knows the ideal positions to be in order to catch the prey. The prey in this case representing these Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, as well as the speckled bird out there. Who are Israelites who look like heathens but are actually Israelites. So the point is, he's a skillful hunter, a cunning hunter, man. And of course, this V that he uses to target Jake, it's a very it's a very crafty weapon, man. Because imagine a weapon of which only targets Jake Israelites, and then it doesn't have much of an effect on those who are Edomites, man. So anyways, let's see. Right, I'll play a little bit of the video, get a final precept again, then that's it.
Of these tiny microclots clogging up the blood, and you don't even know about it. And this can probably help explain why 4 years on, people have still got these microclots, because their immune system can't get rid of them. For those who are wondering why,
I remember with each round being taken is bioaccumulative, if that's even the right word, bioaccumulative, which means it builds up with every round that's added to the body or inserted to the body. So all those seasonal updates on, okay, you got to take your second one, take your third, take your fourth, that's destroying the immune system. That's destroying the body.
why are these clots even problematic in the first place? Well, let me explain. Your blood is tasked with carrying oxygen around the body. Your cells need oxygen to make energy. Now, if your blood is packed full of these tiny microclots, well, your ability to transfer that oxygen around the body is going to be severely impaired. Since you need oxygen to manufacture energy in your cells, well, this means that your peripheral tissues are going to be progressively starved of the needed energy. Furthermore, these microclots can go on to aggregate to form larger clots, which can then clog your veins and arteries, potentially leading to a stroke or cardiac arrest.
And one of the symptoms also being shortness of breath as well. So that's really the point, man. You could put two and two together. You already understand the point of this video. So anyways, I'm gonna get the preset, and that will be it. Yaratazar. Let's do this. So Ecclesiasticus 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away, which means he was still rusty. That wickedness was still there. The rust hasn't been cleared out, man. And where it says, though he humble himself and go crouching, you see, that's the illusion right there. Esau say, oh, it's gonna help, the V's gonna help you. You're gonna if you don't take it, you're putting yourself and your family in danger. That's all psychological manipulation. When a person's beliefs, especially convictions on against Esau Edom are there, Esau always has a way, especially via repetition, of making a person feel shameful. It's all those emotional triggers, man, that Esau taps on in order to make individuals take on his side. The answer is no. Deal with it. Don't try to push. Don't try to force another individual when they're not willing. when they're not willing to take a part of that bullshit agenda that Esau was pushing. Like, come on, just let the guy be. But you know, Esau being a demon, Esau being the devil, the adversary, he's gonna keep pushing. But you know, through Harakah Kudash, he's gonna realize that certain men, you know, us men of Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, servants of Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, will reject whatever motion he has. And of course, the ultimate test, the ultimate exam will be that MOTB, you know, for that implant. So anyways, that's why you gotta pray for strength. You know, pray for this Harakah Kodash to be kept upon you, to keep going, to keep enduring. And then Yaratazar, we ain't got to worry about nothing. Because remember, Yahushua did say he would preserve us in the hour of temptation. You know, so you got to believe that with faith, man. You know, really the highest level of faith is to just know, despite the lack of evidence, despite the lack of physical evidence, you just know it. You know, just like the way, you may think of an example as well. You know that when you drink water, it's going to quench your thirst. You just know that, you know. So that's the same level of faith, or same level of high faith that, you know, Yaratazar is also building us up him too, to the point where it's like Esau, no matter whatever words you use, it won't go through us, man. It won't break us down, because we're fortified with the defense of the scriptures, with the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahshai. And that goes into Ephesians 6. Let me end off on that, and then I'll just close it out. Alright, so Ephesians, actually, let me type it up here. Ephesians 6. Let's see. Yeah, Ephesians 6 and 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahshai and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And remember, with these, you know, TV, media, music, you know, Esau put spells out there as well, man, especially with his words. So, but against verse 12 again, Ephesians 6 and 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in higher places. Let me read that in the NLT as well. It says in verse 12, Ephesians 6 and 12, for we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world. You know, aka the fourth dimension, where the spirits dwell. You know, where your eyes really can't see them. Of course, you know, when you enter into the truth, you might have a few glimpses. The Most High allows you to see, okay, look, this is a reality here. There's demons, there's angels. You know, and it says, but against, you know, you might see a little dark silhouette. Sometimes even a sleep paralysis as well. You know, but anyways, you know, Akim, you should understand what I'm saying, man. Most High gives you a little glimpse that, yes, this is true. The scriptures, his word, of course, is true, to also increase your faith as well, especially in the beginning phases of the truth. Now it says, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. You know, so it says in verse 13, back to the KJV, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil days. And having done all to stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. And of course, these scriptures aid in our defense as well. Scriptures, of course, prayer, and of course fasting as well. As Yahushua said, man, this one cometh not out but by prayer and by fasting. When the disciples asked him, why couldn't we cast out the demon? He said, this one cometh out, but not by prayer and fasting, which are key weapons. Scriptures, prayer, fasting, man. Especially when you got Harakah Kodash to get the understanding. But anyways, you know, Yaratazar, you find it edifying, exhorting. Shalom, Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, Barakatha.